If you want to start climbing with Ekko mid in Season 12, then you've come to the right place, as we'll be covering everything from the best runes, builds, and how to play Ekko at all stages of the game. I am a Grandmaster Peak Ekko main, so by the end of this video, you'll be able to take away a lot of information that you can look to use in your future games. So let's just start out by addressing the thumbnail. Why is there an X through Electrocute and a check beside First Strike? So it's really simple, and it just comes down to Ekko is a champion that really thrives off his item spikes. When you get to your Rocket Belt and to your Lich Bane, and especially at Rabadons, you can just start taking over the game with the champion. And by going First Strike, along with Free Boots and Futures Market, these three runes here allow you to cheat your item spikes, and it allows you to hit your core way earlier on into the game. You should still be looking to run Electrocute in more difficult matchups though. If you are up against a ranged champion that's going to be able to poke you very easily, if you're in a matchup to where you can't trade aggressively, then I would still run Electrocute. And the go-to Electrocute page is this one right here. This is the one that I like to run with the Dematerializer in the secondaries there, because when you're in more difficult lanes, you just want to get out of it as quick as possible, and by running Dematerializer, you can start one-hitting the back wave at level 7. If you use all your demats on the back minions, okay, then you can start one-hitting at level 7, and that just allows you to start roaming earlier on, which is really nice when you're in more difficult matchups. But if you are in easier lanes, definitely try this out on Ekko. It's only picked in 7% of games. It has the best win percent for any rune page on Ekko, and it is my go-to page in easier matchups because it just allows you to hit those spikes very early on. Now, as for the core build on Ekko, it just really bothers me that there's still so many players that go Zhonya's every single game on their Ekko, and you should not be doing this, okay? This should not have a 26% play rate right here. It should have maybe like a 5% at most, 5-10%. You don't need Zhonya's on Ekko. Rabadon Spike, especially coming up in 12.10 here, is going to be way more important because it just allows you to one-shot way easier. When you have Zhonya's, you're not going to be able to easily one-shot squishies, whereas with Rabadons you can, and that it makes a huge difference. Like the damage difference between Rabadons and Zhonya's in mid to late game fights is massive. So Rabadon should be your third item for a lot of games. Second item, it does depend on the situation. If you're into a lot of squishy compositions, or squishy champions I should say, then I would just run the Lich Bane. However, if you are up against more bruisers or tanks to where you're going to need to auto attack them more to kill them, then that's where Nashor's comes in and is a little bit more valuable. So that's kind of how I decide whether I go for Lich Bane or Nashor's. Nashor's is also a little bit better if you are planning to just AFK split push, because you can push waves quicker, and the damage to towers is pretty comparable between Nashor's and Lich Bane. So that's also another factor that can help you decide whether you go Lich Bane or Nashor's. And of course, first item is always going to be Rocket Belt. Now, there are some situations to where you might not have enough gold for a needlessly large rod because it is 1250, right? And you need 2 of those to complete Rabadon. So if you're at a point in the game to where you need like to buy an item for this next dragon fight or this next baron fight, then that's to where I do think that going for like a Nashor's into Lich Bane is viable. Not a lot of people do it. It only has like a 2.5% play rate here, but if you are in one of those situations where you really need like your next item, like you need to be as strong as you can, and you just don't have the gold for a large rod, then you can pick up like a Sheen and just go towards a Lich Bane and then build like this as your core. Now, as for your starting items, I would be looking to go Corrupting Potion in most matchups. However, there are some Ekko players who like the Doran's Ring here and even the Dark Seal Rush. If you are in very easy matchups to where you're confident you can solo kill early on, then you can go dark or you can go Doran's Ring. But especially if you're in more difficult lanes, if you're in range matchups where you're going to get poked heavily early on, you need the sustain from Corrupting Potion. Okay, so it does depend on preference, depends on the matchup, but I run Corrupting Potion in all my games, and then on my first base, I always pick up a Dark Seal. Okay, so you go Corrupting into Dark Seal, and that's your very early, items on Ekko. Then you transition into your Rocket Belt and into your core. And then as for your boots, it's going to be Sorc Shoes in 97% of games. I've probably bought Merc Treads like 2 or 3 times this entire season. You should only be purchasing Mercs if you're up against a comp that's super heavy AP, a ton of crowd control, or else Sorc Shoes are just going to be the better option. Alright, so jumping into some gameplay now, we are laning up against Kennen in this matchup, and if I knew it was Kennen mid, I would have just ran Electrocute in this lane instead of First Strike. I thought it was Corki mid, but for some reason it's Corki top lane. Like if you're in champion select and you have to decide whether it's Kennen or Corki mid, I'd be betting on Corki like all of the time. So that's why I ran first strike, because against Corki, you can trade very aggressively. However, against Kennen, not so much, which you're going to see early on here. Okay, so we'll just roll the gameplay, and Kennen actually does a really good job here at level 1, and he does a good job at zoning me away from the wave. So this is what you should be doing if you're playing against Ekko. Not enough players do this. So what Kennen does here is he just walks up past the wave and he just starts auto attacking me. Now, my thought process behind this is that if he does start autoing me here, then my minions are going to start attacking him, so it's not the end of the world. So I don't end up like backing like fully away here, because I've got my corrupting potion. Okay, this is why you go corrupting potion on Ekko, especially in these more difficult lanes, because you just need it to sustain the poke that the enemy ranged champions are going to deal to you early on. So notice how I'm just trying to stay as far away as I can without like getting out of XP range of these minions, because you really don't want to lose XP on these 3 minions here. It really just screws you over early on. So I don't want to lose that. However, I also want to take as minimal damage as possible. So I'm just trying to sit back here for as much as I can. But okay, the minions are about to die here, so I'm just going to ignore Kennen. I don't care what Kennen's doing here. I don't care that he's auto attacking me. I've got my corrupting potion. So you see how those minions there, though, they hit Kennen once and then they stop hitting him, which was a little bit odd. I thought they would hit him more. That's kind of why I thought, okay, this trade maybe wouldn't be too bad, because my minions would start autoing Kennen, but they didn't even auto him at all, which is kind of weird. I just don't care. Like, he starts E, I can't trade with him. There's no point in me trying to trade. Like, if I use Q on him, okay, maybe I get like 70 damage off, but all I care about is the last hits on these minions. And if you can secure 2 out of 3 of these minions on this on these melee minions here on the first wave, then you're doing fine. If you can secure all 3, that's amazing, but usually you can only get 2. So right here, this one just ends up barely, you know, I barely missed the last hit on that one. It lives with like, I don't know, 13 HP. Really annoying. But we get 2 out of 3. I pop my corrupting potion, and now I'm just looking to, you know, get as many last hits as I can here. I really don't want to interact with Kennen, especially when he has his E available. If I know his E is up, there's really no point in me going in on him, okay? Now his E is down, so this is a window to where I could potentially look to trade onto him. I'm going to hit my level 2 here in a second, so if I get 2 before him, I could, but he does hit level 2 before me, and there's not much I could do about that in this lane just because of how he played the level 1. He did zone me off really nicely. I couldn't really get a push at all going, so we're both level 2 now, and I'm just looking to line up my Q here and get as many last hits as I can, okay? So keeping the wave from crashing into my tower here so I can get the last hits. And you end up with 9 out of 12, so not the best, not the worst. If you can get 10 out of 12, I think that's really good on the first 2 waves. Now right here, what Kennen does is he actually drops a ward. I guess I didn't realize, and this play right here actually really screws me over, because there's actually a ward right here. There's a ward right here, so he knows that Vi is there, and I thought this play was fine, because what would have happened here is if there wasn't a ward, Vi could have just Q flashed onto Kennen and we could have killed him. But he notices Vi charging, okay? So then he just walks away. And this is a mistake by me. Like, I shouldn't have gone in here when I knew that Vi was out of range, because I go in for this trade. I end up getting chunked really hard, and this is to where, okay, if Kennen has his E, you just can't trade, okay? You just can't trade, and it's just evidence based on this trade I try to take there, okay? So now I'm in a pretty bad spot here, because I'm like out of corrupting charges. I don't have TP. That's another thing as well that I should mention. If I knew I was against Kennen, I probably would have just ran TP. If I'm against Corki, he doesn't have as much early game pressure on me, so I would obviously run the Ignite, but you know, not knowing which matchup I was in at the start of the game kind of did screw me over a little bit here, because I would have played it a lot differently. I would have ran Electrocute, and I would have ran Teleport, so I have to base there. And the wave is in a really bad spot for me, but let's just go back here actually. Now, after I take this bad trade here, there's actually another mistake that ends up happening right after, and I'm just going to pause like right now, okay? What do you guys think should happen in this situation, okay? I'm really low on HP, I don't have any corrupting charges left anymore, and I don't have teleport. What should happen here? Okay, if you need to pause to think about it, then you can, but what should happen is I should be spam pinging my Vi to help me push this wave in. If I don't get this wave pushed, I'm going to be in a terrible spot to where I either lose like an entire wave if I base right now, or if I try to stay, then Kennen could very well just solo kill me, or I'm just going to have to sit back and like be like very useless, just spamming Qs on the wave, okay? So this is something that I can improve on. I think a lot of players can improve on. Don't be afraid to call your jungler to help you push your wave, because it's better that you share XP than lose the entire wave of XP, okay? If you think about it like that, because what happens here is Kennen he's allowed to do that because I'm super low on HP and Kennen has flash still available and he's got teleport as well, so he can play very aggressive there. And now I end up losing this entire wave, okay? I end up losing like 5 minions worth of XP. I even missed some of the next wave, and that could have all been prevented by just pinging assistance on my wave or just typing Vi help me shove, something like that in the chat. And that is something that I need to work on, and I think a lot of players can work on as well. All right, so as I get back to lane here, I see Shyvana moving towards bot side, so I'm pretty free to just try to shove this wave in as quick as possible. I need this wave to crash here, because if it doesn't, then I'm just forced into a really bad situation where I have to sit in front of Kennen's tower and try to farm. So I'm just trying to hard shove this next wave in here. I see Shyvana recalling, so I'm completely fine to just play up like this how I am. If it were a different jungler though, who could, punish me, who could gank a lot better than Shyvana, then this would be a little bit more risky if I didn't know where they were. Okay, now this next play right here, okay, Kennen uses E. I'm just gonna pause here for a second. Okay, think about what is the play here, okay? What is the play now that Kennen's used E? So just pause if you have to, okay? So what we're gonna do is notice how many minions he has here that he wants to CS. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's a cannon too, okay? He just used his E, and he's actually in lethal range here. He's actually in lethal range, okay? I have Ignite. If I use my full combo, I Ignite him, then he's gonna end up dying. Okay, so what I end up doing here is I throw my W down. Now the positioning on this was definitely a little bit poor. It should have been positioned more so like, let's just use circle here. It should have been like this. Okay, so the positioning wasn't very good there, but it didn't end up mattering in the end, okay? So what happens is I'm gonna go in, EQ, just classic combo on Ekko, EQ animation cancel, throw down the Ignite right away, okay? Auto to proc the passive. I'm gonna flash in behind him to guarantee that my return Q hits. Okay, we get the return Q, Ignite finishes him off, and we get the solo kill. And we end up living as well. Okay, so he loses this entire wave here. He loses the cannon minion, and my thought process there is even if I trade 1-for-1 with him, it's actually worth it for me, okay? Because he has a lot of minions under tower here that he's gonna lose. And this is a matchup to where I'm better with items than Kennen is, or at least I'm more confident that I'll be more impactful than he will with items. If I'm up against like a Kassadin, then trading 1-for-1 is a little bit more risky just because Kassadin scales better than Ekko. But in a matchup like this, to where I'm confident that with the items, I'm going to be able to like be more impactful than the enemy is, I'm going to look for these like 1-for-1 dive plays like this, okay? Now what ends up happening here, oh god, this is so tilting. I don't know if this happens to you guys, but you try to click on the blast cone, like right here, I'm trying to click the blast cone, and it just passed me like away from it. Like it just doesn't click the blast cone. And then I go to auto it here, and my auto cancels. Like this was just so tilting here because I make such a good play. I make such a good dive play on Kennen, and then I just, like, maybe I would have died anyways to Shyvana. She popped Ghost, but I think I could have escaped if let's just go back here. So you get the kill on Kennen. So what I should have done is I should have put my cursor like right here, I think, and then just went for the auto onto the blast cone. I'm not too sure like exactly what happened, but if I wait for Shyvana, if I just sit here, wait for Shyvana to be right here on the blast cone, and then I hit it, like right now, if I hit it and I go in this direction and Shyvana gets bounced back, then I probably end up living. So this is just a really unfortunate situation, and I feel like I can't be the only one, right, that's had that happen where like you just misclick the blast cone and you end up dying for it. It really sucks, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're gonna do another little play here where I just pause it and I ask you guys, okay, what's the play? What's the play off of the information that we have here? Okay, so in a second here. Okay, Kennen just uses his E on the wave to try to push. What should we be looking to do here? Okay, immediately throw down W, and we're looking to trade. Like if Kennen does not have his E up, that's our only window that we have to trade in this matchup. So you should be looking to play very aggressive whenever that is down. So right here, I just get the shield from my W and I look to go in. Okay, a lot of the time you don't even need to like hit the stun with your W. I feel like that's a, you know, like something that a lot of Ekko players like underestimate. Just simply getting the shield and trading with the shield is actually completely fine. You don't need to hit the stun with Ekko W. So I get the shield there and then I just get a nice little trade-off. Kennen doesn't have E, I punish that. I go in when I proc my shield and we end up winning the trade. All right, the next play I want to talk about here, I just ticked level 6, and a lot of Ekko players, including myself, you don't need to level your ultimate at level 6 until you actually need to use it. Now, this isn't something that's game changing, okay? If you can't get used to this and you just want to level your ultimate level 6, it's not going to make you like a better Ekko player. It's going to give you an advantage in very niche situations, and it might help you in like one in every like 100 games. So if you can't get used to it, don't worry about it, but it does give you some small advantages, because if you don't level up your ultimate, but you just keep the point available, okay, that's very important. You want to keep the point available for you to be able to level up your ultimate, but you don't have to level it at level 6 until you need it, because then your shadow doesn't pop up. Okay, notice how like I have no shadow here behind me because I haven't leveled my ultimate. And sometimes what will happen is the enemy jungler will try to gank you thinking your ultimate is down. Then you level up your ultimate and you look to turn the play. And there's probably been like, maybe like 2 or 3 times in my like hundreds of games on Ekko where this play has like actually come into effect and I've like actually ended up turning a nice like 1v2. So it doesn't happen a ton. It's not something you need to learn, okay? But if you do want to, you know, bring your Ekko like to that next level, if you're looking for like small ways to improve, that is one way that you can look to do so. Okay, so this next play I want to talk about here, this is one of my favorite like things about Ekko. It's that you have the ability to dive better than like most mid lane champions, okay? So especially when like Kennen is half HP like this, like I'm just thinking, okay, shove this next wave and I'm looking for a dive opportunity if I see it. So we'll just fast forward a little bit, shove this wave in, and then I'm just looking to dip into the fog of war. What I've noticed about this Kennen in this game here is he's very often using his E on the wave, okay? So what my thought process is here is I'm just going to wait for him to E the wave, then I'm going to W in, like I'm anticipating here with this W, okay? I'm putting it here because I know the wave is going to crash in a little bit further up here. Kennen's going to walk up, likely E this wave, and then I'm going to look to dive in, okay? This is the thought process behind the play. What ends up happening though is, so it's a little bit too early, unfortunately. He ends up Eing, right, like I expected, but my W comes down slightly too early. So just a bit of a timing thing there. I don't know if there's like really anything that, like if I would have waited to use my W like 1 or 2 seconds later, might have ended up actually getting the kill on him there. So unfortunate on the timing, but looking for these plays is the important takeaway, okay? You should be looking for these kind of dive plays under tower when your ultimate and ignite is available, because if you do land this stun, okay, if you do land it, it's a free kill every single time. And especially in the lower elos, you're gonna find this almost every single game. Okay, in the higher elos, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. Like this Kennen here, he anticipates it pretty easily, but in the lower ranks, like if you're silver gold, then you're going to find these plays and you're going to be able to get them almost every single game. I guess what I should note as well is, you know how I use my W from like right here in the middle of lane? You can actually use it from all the way down like in the brush here too. I think I've actually got a play later on in the game where I can highlight this, but you can just be sitting in the brush here or slightly behind the wall. The key is that you're just in the fog of war, okay? The key is that the enemy doesn't see you use your W. So if we actually just go back here to when I use my W, let's see if Kennen actually saw me use it, okay? Let's toggle onto Kennen here, toggle vision. So I knew I was out of range here, okay, of Kennen's vision. So that's why I use my W from right here. Okay, he can't actually see this, by the way. He can't actually see this yet. So he doesn't see my W animation, and therefore, you know, it ends up being a really high percentage play. It's a play that you want to be going for, okay? Because the likelihood of you picking up kills from these W Fog of War plays is very high. Okay, so now Kennen actually ends up like healing. I think he had refillable. Let's actually just go back here because he was a lot lower before. Maybe he just regened. I don't even know. Let's see here. I guess he just regened because I go for the play here. He is in lethal range, but he ends up regenning a decent amount in between, like this opportunity here and the next wave. Oh, he levels up. That's what he does. Okay, he levels up. So now he's in a range to where it's a little bit more risky for me to die. Like, unless I land the W, it's not going to happen. So right here, what I decide to do is, okay, I'm thinking about, do I look for another play on him or do I look for a roam? So I realize that there's not really a play to be had mid lane. So take a look at the map and you notice that Victor's in base. Nothing's happening top lane, so I don't even bother top side. Okay. I realize my bot lane's pushing out, and with my bot lane pushing, okay, it's a great opportunity for a counter gank because where's Shyvana gonna be? You know, Victor's in base. Like, the likelihood of her being topside is very low. So even if your teammates are shoving out like they are here, even if it's not an easy gank, like there's no way I can gank Zeri and Senna if they're playing back at tower here. But you can counter gank, okay? If it's very likely that the enemy jungler is going to be there, walk down for the counter, and that's what I do here. Vi's even here too, so this ends up being a really nice play. Throw the W down. Zeri dashes away from it, so we don't end up hitting it. But very easy dive play because I have ultimate here. And just go in. Maybe I didn't even need to use ultimate, to be honest there. And we're just going to look to go back mid here and clear the wave. So this is just a really good example of using your pressure on Ekko. Okay, I'm looking for dive plays on Kennen. If that's not available, if I don't think it's gonna happen, then I look for other options. I don't just sit mid lane looking to do nothing. I look for a potential roam top or bot. I realized that bot was the play there, so roam bot and help my team secure a couple kills. Okay, jump ahead to 9 minutes and 43 seconds here. If we just pause for a second, analyze the situation, this is like the first big mistake I ended up making in this game, and it's 100% preventable. So Senna and Zeri end up rotating over to mid lane. I see Shyvana here, and the reason I end up trying to go for this play is because I see Shyvana and she's kind of pincered here. I feel like if Victor rotates over, if Vi locks her down, we could end up picking up the kill, but the play should be to just not even fight this at all. The play should be to just back away. Zeri and Senna are mid. Tristan and Soraka have free reign on bot lane here, so just give them that. There's no reason to force a play like this that's it's potentially 3v5 because Kennen, like, I don't know where Kennen is here, but he could be around too. So I end up fighting this here, and it just goes really, really bad. And it's just one of these plays where it's easily preventable. And when you look back at it, okay, your bot lane can easily get a couple plates here. We just don't fight this. There's no reason to fight this here. And we just let our bot lane collect free gold, but end up trying to force something that was never there. And we end up giving the enemy team a little bit of, a little bit of gold back. Okay, so this next play here at 10 minutes and 40 seconds is another example, kind of like the last play that we just went over, just forcing plays that aren't there. And I actually don't end up being the one that forces this play, but we see Victor top lane, doesn't have teleport. Corki's using package, dragon is spawning, Corki's going to be packaging into that dragon, okay? If Victor's not here, there is no business for us to even try to contest the dragon. Maybe Vi can look for a steal, and if it was later on in the game, then I would 100% look for a steal because Ekko is very, very strong at stealing like objectives with his passive proc later on in the game. But right here, no clue why my team is fighting. I think I ping like one careful ping, but I should be spam pinging more than that. That's also something that personally I need to work on, and I think everybody can work on, is just spam pinging your team when you know it's the wrong play. I know it's the wrong play here. Victor is not here. It's going to be a 5v4 with Corki package, but my team decides to fight anyways. So another one of those plays where highly preventable, right? Highly, highly preventable. If I was just maybe pinging a little bit more, like before the play, or if I was typing, like thinking ahead, right? Corki gets package, Victor's top with TP. As soon as Corki got package, I could have typed something like, let's not fight, give dragon, you know, something like that. And it prevents my team from giving up, you know, a free death there. So I think right here is another really good example of setting up from the Fog of War and just playing off of that. Fog of War is so important with Ekko because you always want to be finding angles to where you can come in with giving the enemy very little time to react to you. You want to be able to, you know, dive in as soon as your W stun is coming down. Okay, so that's what I end up doing here. I see Kennen use E on the wave. I use W here from Fog of War, and I just try to go in. Okay, my W placement this game honestly wasn't the best. Looking back at it now, could have been placed a little bit better, like over here. Even then, though, Kennen wouldn't have been in range of it. However, I get the shield. Okay, and then I look to dive in because I know that with ultimate here, with ignite, I can solo kill this Kennen. Now, he stuns me up, so I don't get the return Q, which was the unfortunate part about this play. If I get the return Q and auto him once, then he ends up dying. So his stun actually saved him there, or else that would have been a solo kill. Now, going back, though, there's actually something I could have once again done differently, and that's just spam pinging my team. Right here, Vi, I don't know what she's exactly doing in this bush here, but I should have been spam pinging my Vi to look to gank this Kennen, or just look to dive this Kennen, because I have ultimate, and she's like sitting over the wall here, just kind of doing nothing. I'm not too sure exactly what she thinks she's doing sitting in this bush, but I guess she just doesn't realize Kennen's under tower here. Very diveable. Like if she just ults, I ult, he's dead 100%. But she's just still in the bush here, and then I think she ends up queuing the Raptors, which is kind of interesting. Instead of like trying to queue over the wall here and like ult the Kennen. Maybe she just doesn't have a mini map. You know, maybe that's the case here. You never know, right? But should have been a kill on Kennen there for sure if Vi was paying attention, and that's where pinging your teammates, communicating is just so. I feel like it's so underrated. It's something that can help you out in like way too many situations, but it's something that everybody can look to improve on, I think. All right, 13 minutes in now, bot lane tower is down. So at this point, you want to be looking to push out side lanes and then look to rotate towards mid. This should be like rinse and repeat with Ekko at this point, because you want to make sure you're staying up in CS, staying up in farm. You don't want to be A-ramming mid with your bot lane, like sharing XP, sharing, you know, gold. So you look to go bot. And another play here, just playing off the Fog of War. All I'm looking to do is proc first strike here because Kennen's full HP. I'm not anticipating to kill him. If I get the stun off, then I could potentially kill him. But I don't have ignite. Okay, so I don't quite have the damage here to just auto attack him to death. So get the first strike proc off there. That's all I was really going for, like 66 gold. You might as well take it. And then just continue pushing the side lanes out here. So I'll just go back on me here. Fast forward a little bit. So push outside, rotate mid. Nothing there. Go back to side, push outside. Okay, so that should be like what you should be looking to do consistently with Ekko in the mid game. Right here, I see Kennen pushing the wave using E, so I look to go in for an aggressive trade here. He doesn't have any cooldowns, so yet again, another first strike proc, 56 gold. So I've obtained, what, like 100 and something gold in the past just minute here, getting free first strike procs off on Kennen. Now my jungler decides to back me up here, so this is just a really easy free kill. Vi jumps over the wall, ults Kennen, go in there, pick him off. Okay, so Ekko's really strong in the side lane. Depending on the matchup, like against Kennen, he's good. Like certain matchups, if you're up against like a bruiser or something, a lot of the time you can't do a ton with Ekko. But if you're up against like mages, like, you know, mages in the side lane, then you can pressure very aggressively. And then right here, I'm just gonna get a base off. Okay, so while bot lane's pushing, no point in me being bot, so I'm just gonna look to hover mid here for a second until, you know, bot lane pushes back out. So I see Senna collecting this ward here, trying to collect this ward. So I use W. She ends up like seeing my W coming down there, so she ends up walking the other way. Could have played that a little bit better to where I could have waited a split second probably, and then I could have like jumped on her, and she might have not reacted how she did. But we're mid here. Kennen's not, so not too sure why Shyvana went in like this. This is just all about, like this entire play here is just all about me being mid before Kennen, okay? I've got bot lane shoved out, so I can be mid lane. There's no reason for me to like be down bot lane just sitting there doing nothing. So I'm mid before Kennen, we win the fight. Right here is such an interesting play that I want to touch on with Ekko. Let's just go back a little bit. Okay, so right here, jump onto Kennen. We use W to block off his escape route. And I see Corki walking in here. So what I could do here is I could just walk onto my W as soon as it lands and proc it right now, right? It lands, I could walk into it and proc it. You can actually wait a split second though, after it lands. If you know the enemy is like gonna walk in, like Corki, I don't think he sees my W here. So what my thought process is I'm not gonna walk into it right away. I'm gonna wait for Corki to walk around the corner. Then when he's in range of my W, now I'm gonna walk in. Okay, so that's a little trick you can do on Ekko. And it's not gonna happen in a ton of your games, but just know that you don't need to jump into your W like immediately as soon as it lands. You can wait a split second, and if the enemy is like, you know, doesn't realize your W is there or something, like Corki, I don't think he realized my W is there, you can just wait for him to walk into it, then you proc the stun. So right here, you go in on Corki. I noticed my ultimate's back on Kennen here, so I just ult back to pick up the kill. Honestly, Vi probably had the kill by herself, but I wanted to get the kill there. Jump in on Corki here. Run behind him to make sure that my Q, my return Q ends up proccing, and then Vi ends up picking up the triple kill. All right, so fast forward to 18 minutes. Once again, I'm just looking to go to the side lanes, shove it out, keep up my XP, keep up my gold. I see Corki here. Jump to a minion, proto belt in with the movement speed, and now I've got him pincered. Like there's nowhere for him to go here. Just use my ultimate back, finish him off with the E. So that is something that you can do if you're super fed on Ekko and like the enemy is pushing a side lane like that. If they do have a gap closer, you can use your E on a minion to first close the gap, then use your rocket belt like I did to get some movement speed towards them, and then they've pretty much got nowhere to go. But that's only if you know they don't have like enough damage to kill you right away. Like if Corki was like super fed or something, then obviously like Eing the wave like that, if he could just like turn on me right away, is not going to be, you know, a very good play if he could just burst me out right away. So shove out the side lane, rotate to mid. Now this is a very unfortunate play because I don't realize there's a pink here, and this is my third and only death of this game. I don't realize there's a pink here, which is kind of unfortunate. Like, I mean, how could I, right? Like I don't have any vision there. I thought Senna just didn't have any vision of me at all, and looking back, you know, I was trying to debate like whether or not this is the correct play here. I do think it's a fine play because as long as I proc my stun here and I get my passive proc, I just kill Senna and I run away with my movement speed. They don't have any CC to lock me down, any hard crowd control, but Senna ends up seeing me here and she changes her path. Okay, so let's just go back here a little bit. Okay, so I'm walking into the bush, hoping that she doesn't see me, but because there's a ward right here, now she starts moving backwards. Okay, and that actually ends up like being the reason to why I don't hit my EQ here. And because I don't hit my EQ, I don't get the passive proc, I get rooted up. And I have to try to proc a passive here on Shyvana to run away. I'm not able to get it, so I just end up dying. So I still think that's a fine play to go for. However, just a little bit unfortunate that Senna ended up having the vision on me there. And Victor's top lane too. Like technically that was like I guess a 4v5 fight there. We got Victor pushing top. So not the end of the world. All right, so 20 minutes in and you guessed it. What are we doing? Bot lane. Shoving the wave out. Not too sure why I'm AFK there for a second, but just looking to push. And rotating towards mid. We got the sweeper here. That's, I guess, something I didn't touch on earlier as well. Like usually when the laning phase is going to come to an end, I always grab a sweeper. But I rotate towards mid here. And I'm first on the rotation once again. Okay, Kennen's not here. It's a 5v4 for us. So what ends up happening is they try to go in. I think the enemy actually engages. We go in here and we end up cleaning them because I'm here before Kennen. We have the advantage. Now we end up picking everybody off. I want to be a little bit careful about diving in on Zeri here. She does proc her shield bow, but I get the chunk off, and I think somebody ends up picking up the kill. Or never mind, nobody actually got the kill on Zeri there. Corki's stunned up, though, so we can just dive in, finish him off there. And now we should be looking to base for this upcoming dragon. Okay, so I'm super strong here. I have my Rocket Belt, my Lich Bane, and 2 needlessly large rods, so I'm extremely strong. I can one-shot anybody. I see Senna out of position here, so I just dive right in, pick up the kill. The enemy team, this is something to note here as well this game, they have no hard CC that they can just use on me and lock me down immediately. That's why I feel safe just jumping in like that. Like, even though I know Shyvana's right there and I know Zeri's right there, I just jump in and one-shot Senna because they don't have anything to lock me down with. If I'm playing against a composition that has some hard CC there, I don't go for that play, okay? Because if there's 3 members there with like hard CC, I just get CC'd up instantly and I just die. Okay, so that's something you really do have to adjust based on every single game with Ekko, determining whether or not you can look for those very aggressive plays like that, or whether or not you're, gonna end up getting CC'd and you're just gonna die. Okay, now right here, I'm kind of looking for a potential flank around this way. Like, I'm thinking I could potentially like flank around this way and go on them, but my team actually ends up fighting, or no, Corki packages. Okay, that's what happens. So Corki packages and my team is like forced to fight this way. So I'm a little bit late to this fight, unfortunately, but we still end up winning. Throw my W down in a choke here. We get the stun off on Shyvana. Pick up the kill on Kennen there. And now we have the free dragon. So that play pretty much all stemmed off my pick there on Senna. It was a 5v4 for us, so it was very easy to win the fight from then on out. Even though I wasn't even in like the fight immediately, like I was originally looking for a flank. My team was fighting 4v4, but once I got there, very easy for us to clean it up. Okay, so another example here, just always looking for those fog picks. I'm super strong. I can one-shot anybody on the enemy team, so I'm just patient here. I know somebody's gonna come and try to push out this wave. Kennen's here. W placement was a little bit off again. Like, that's something that, honestly, this game, looking back on it, my W placement was horrible. Like, my W placement was just not very good this game. I should have placed it a little bit like further up here, anticipating him to like walk forward after he cleared out the wave, but it doesn't end up mattering because, like I said, super strong, can one-shot anybody. So we pick off Kennen there. And we're just going to keep pushing because there's no reason for us to rotate like over all the way to top lane. Like, we're not going to get there in time for a fight. So keep pushing bot lane here. And now I'm going to back away and just clear out the enemy's jungle. When you are super ahead like this, very important that as you're like exiting, as you're going to base, just clear all the enemy's jungle. Don't allow them any chance to get back into the game. All right, 25 minutes in now. Instead of running right at Kennen here, I know he's going to be coming around. I go into a fog pocket, and then I just look to jump in on him so he has very little time to react. All back in here onto the Zeri, and then we just very easily finish off the Shyvana. So triple kill there, pretty standard play. And then right here, Senna ends up walking in, unofficial Quadra. Looking back on this play, we should have just done Baron immediately. I don't know why Tristana and I, like, we're mid here. We should have just been on the Baron. So that's another, like, little play that could have done differently in this game. Okay, once again, I know the enemy team, like, I'm anticipating with this play that they're going to try to walk up and defend this tower. So I just look for a pick when they do. Pick off another free kill. And this is honestly, like, one of the more perfect Ekko games that you can have, just because, like I stated earlier, the enemy team just doesn't have any hard CC. So I could just dive in like that, and I'm super safe as long as I have my ultimate available. Dive in here, pick onto Senna. I want to be careful here just because I have a 700 shutdown, and this is something that you do have to be aware about. Like, I don't want to give a 700 shutdown to Zeri, especially when it's so easy for us to close this game out here. So I do try to go in originally, but I just ult back out right away. And let's actually look at that because my return Q actually kills Zeri here. I was wondering how this happened in the game. Let's just see how this actually ends up happening here. Where was it? Okay, so she just like walked right into it. Okay, so jump ahead to the very end of the game here. We're getting very close to the end of the game. 27-40. I make a huge mistake here. And this is a really good, you know, just macro play here that we can talk about, and something that I think most players can always be looking to improve on. So I'm just going to pause here. What's my mistake? Just pause if you need to think about it. Take a look at the mini map here. What's going on? Okay. What's the bad play in this clip here? Okay, so I farm raptors and I go over and I farm the scuttle here when dragon's coming up in 24 seconds. Such a bad play. And this is something I'm trying to be more cognizant of, and something that I really like try to work on. Just being aware of objective spawning and getting there like well before they do spawn. I don't know what you know, why I didn't notice that in this game, but I'm late to dragon. The enemy team actually ends up getting the dragon here, so this was just a really bad macro play, like super terrible macro play here. So it's a good takeaway from this game, in that like just paying attention to when objectives are coming up, and just always looking, like tabbing, looking at objective timers from, you know, whenever there's any downtime, like after a play, after a team fight. As soon as I was like walking away there, I should have just been tabbing, taking a look at, okay, what's the next objective? If you can always be saying to yourself, what's the next objective, or what should you be doing next, then it can help limit, you know, those kind of plays where you're just completely like doing the wrong thing. Like I shouldn't have been farming raptors or scuttle crab there. It doesn't actually end up mattering, but you know, you shouldn't, results-based analysis is just so bad to go off of, right? Like, even though we end up winning this game, even though we ended up stomping, there's so many things that I could have done differently, right? There's so many things to improve on from this game, even when I'm 16-3. So we're going to end up just pushing bot here. I'm just looking to like push out mid, but rotate bot. There's no reason to go top or mid because both the inhibs are down. So I'm just going to like push mid wave in and look for a flank play towards bot. However, I see the whole enemy team potentially looking to chase my team down bot here. The wave's pushing in mid. Nobody's mid on the enemy team. I have an elixir. I have max build on Ekko. So I'm just going to end the game. Like, look at the enemy team's looking to fight here. You one-hit towers with Ekko at this point, okay? So this is something to always keep in mind once you get like max build, late game with Ekko, okay? If you notice the enemy team fighting here, don't rotate for the fight. There's no reason for you to rotate for the fight. You can just end the game. So that's what I do here. We got the wave, E in. One auto does like half the tower's HP at this point. Finish off the tower. Now, I actually don't think I use my E here at all. And that's something to take note of too. Do I even end up using E on the tower? Let's just see here. Oh, I use it over the wall there and then I don't have it. Okay, that's why I don't have E. Okay, that makes sense. But it is back up here and I don't use it because I want to like wait to use it to close the gap and then use it on the Nexus. So just that damage though to towers and to objectives is really insane with Ekko, so just keep that in mind when you're playing him. Also, I actually want to just go back here. Even though I didn't end up stealing this Baron here, take a look at how much damage you do. Okay? So, I Q through the Baron there. I get my second proc of my passive off. Okay? So now I can E to proc passive. And let's see what is that here. So 1.3, you can execute Baron. I went into practice too. I practiced this one time. If you have max build, it can be at like 1.6k at this point in the game and you can execute it. 1.6, maybe 1.5 actually. So it was at 1.3 there, right? That's higher than Smite, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Smite's 900, okay? So be aware of that later game with Ekko. You're a jungler. Like you have a Smite, okay? If the enemy team is on Baron and you're just standing over the wall here looking to steal, what you want to do is you just Q the Baron, okay, wait for both hits of the passive onto the Baron, and then once it gets to like 1.3, 1.5, if you need 3 items like Rabadon's, Rocket Belt, Lichbane. If you have those 3, you can do like 1.5, about that, okay? So just keep that in mind. It comes in handy a lot of times. I've probably stolen like countless Barons and Dragons this season. Really easy to do, but something that maybe not a lot of Ekko players are very aware of. All right, so that is going to be all for the video though, guys. As you saw, we end up just going mid, winning the game here. So hopefully you did enjoy. Hopefully there's something that you could have taken away from this video. If you do want to catch me live, that is the best way where I can like answer your questions or anything. Or if you want to learn more about Ekko, I do play him on stream quite a bit, so you can check that out. Link will be in the description below. So thanks for watching, guys. Good luck with your Ekko and solo queue. Have an awesome day, and I'll see you in my next video.